Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 255 of How Do You Write? I'm Rachael Herron. So thrilled that you are here with me today. I really, really am. I always am. But especially today because I am talking to Lisa Scottoline. And let me tell you, I worship this woman. I did before we spoke. And then it was really hard to get our schedules to align when her publicist reached out to me. But I was determined. So I turned into that annoying pest who was like, can we try again? Can we try again? It took months to get this interview. And it has been months since I recorded it, since we've been moving and everything. But I am as excited about it as the day we spoke. She has such a dynamism and such an incredible way of looking at writing and how to satisfy the market that you create for your writing. And she kind of demystifies some aspects of writing. And I literally could have talked to her all day. So you are going to love that. What's been going on around here? Still in New Zealand, still in the same house outside the town of Russell, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like I said last week, we are on this little inlet in the Bay of Islands. There are 4 houses on the inlet, and only one of them has a person living in it. Luckily, he's next door, and he also has a puppy. So we get to see a puppy sometimes. We get to play with the puppy, and the puppy is darling. It's a little border collie, Springer Spaniel mix named Fur. But otherwise, there's no one around. We don't really talk to Fur's owner either. We just kind of wave at him. The only really object we've been talking to that is not each other is Fur. I have found in captivity that I really, really love long walks. And this is something I knew about myself, but where we lived in Oakland before, for 15 years, there was no place to walk. I could walk. I could go down this one street and then up another street, and then I could kind of walk in circles around these blocks. But there were just a lot of places in my neighborhood that were not at all conducive to safe walking. And I couldn't. And I just can't stand the idea of driving somewhere to go walk. And right now, legally in New Zealand, you can't drive somewhere to go walk. But here, I can just leave the house. We have this bushwalk. If you're looking at the YouTube video, there's these stairs you can see behind me. It goes straight up through the bush, just this big hill that we're on the other side of, up to the main road. And then I just walk out on the main road. Most days that I walk, I don't even see another car, let alone a person. I did see a person once, and they had a dog named Marshmallow. Again, I don't know the person's name, don't care. But the dog's name was Marshmallow, and she was adorable. And I've been taking these long walks in the middle of my work day. I think I mentioned last week that I have this new, improved schedule that allows me to take this long walk and a long lunch and 30 minutes to read in the middle of the day. And it's just been feeling pretty wonderful, which is good because Auckland and north of Auckland, which is where we are, we're in the Northland, has been put on, is going to remain on level 4 lockdown, the highest lockdown there is for at least the next 2 weeks. South of Auckland, they're hoping to go to level 3, which is the point at which restaurants can open and you can get takeout. So I'm very happy for the rest of New Zealand starting on Tuesday that they'll be able to get takeout again. That's probably the thing I missed the most on lockdown. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but it's really interesting. We're not spending any money except on rent and groceries, on our Airbnb rent and groceries. We cannot order anything online because we don't have an address here. This house does not have an address. We cannot go to restaurants. They're all closed. We have no other bills, which is an amazing feeling. We have our cell phone bill, and that is it. We paid cash for the car. We're paying rent to the Airbnb, and we have our cell phone bill. And it's really low because it's cheap here. And that's it. That's all we're paying for. So that's been kind of nice. And we're stuck. Legally, we cannot leave this house for at least another couple of weeks. And I have to say that while my heart is broken, that New Zealand is struggling with this, and it is very expensive for the country. I read somewhere that it costs like $1 billion a day to shut down. I can't quite believe that. And I did see it on Twitter, and it was not from it was just from a person saying that to me. I have not researched that number, but it does cost New Zealand so much money to shut down like this, to lock down like this at such a severe level. But that is how they got rid of COVID the first time they had it. And that's why we're doing it now. And the cool thing about it is that when they got rid of COVID the first time and then had more than a year of not having COVID, their economy rebounded completely to the place it was before. They didn't have any kind of recession. They didn't have any job loss over the long term. It all came back. So that's hopefully what this nation is doing right now. And I'm really proud of it. And I'm happy to be part of it. And there's a tiny part of me that says, oh my gosh, Rachel, you're so... No, it's a huge part of me that says, oh my gosh, Rachel, you're so lucky. And there's a tiny part of me that says, should you be feeling this much joy and being able to walk by the ocean every day for weeks? And that tiny voice, I would like to say, yes, it is okay that I feel joy about that. That is marvelous. How lucky are we to be in this position, in this amazing place? So just feeling a lot of gratitude as usual. Also, I've been getting my work done, people. I'm 18,000 words into the 90 Days to Done book, and it's so fun to write. Sometimes nonfiction, especially writing about craft, writing about writing, it doesn't feel like writing to me. It just feels like play. Fiction is often hard for me. Memoir is often hard for me. Writing is just hard, period. It's hard work. But writing about craft, it's just so yummy. I'm loving that. Really quick thanks to new patrons, Louisa Brooke Holland. I have Hollands in my family, in my New Zealand family, actually. So thank you, Louisa. And Neen Cohen. Thank you so much for joining over at Patreon and becoming a supporter of me and of the show. It means I get to write those essays about... Right now I'm writing about moving to New Zealand, and there's a new essay going to come out probably within a week or so on entering New Zealand for a week and then exiting New Zealand into the lockdown, because it really does feel like we're staying in a beach house in Mendocino. We are not interacting with New Zealanders except once a week when one of us goes to get groceries at the grocery store. Otherwise, we could be anywhere. So did we move? I saw California quail on my walk the other day. That was like, did we move? Did we actually do it? Yes, we did. I've seen so many birds. The eastern rosella, it looks like this little tiny parrot wearing a leopard print cape. Even if you're not into birds, look up the eastern rosella, Rosella, because it is the cutest thing. Okay, I'm not going to bird out on you. We're going to talk about writing, and we're going to talk about it with Lisa Scottoline, and you are going to love her as much as I do. Please enjoy this interview, and may it inspire perhaps a 15-minute or so burst of writing on your part. If you're getting none done, if you're getting a little done, an extra 15 minutes, an extra 30 minutes, those little minutes add up. I'm 18,000 words in. I started this book a couple weeks ago, and I've just been doing 3 or 4 25-minute Pomodoros a day, less than 2 hours of writing. That's what can happen when we reliably sit down and do our work. So it's not good work. It's not great work. It's actually bad work. It's going to require a lot of revision, but it's words on a page. That's our only goal. So let's listen to Lisa talk about that, and happy writing, my friends. Well, I could not be more thrilled to welcome to the show today, Lisa Scottoline. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled.
I have been looking forward to this for literally months.
Well, I am a fan of yours, as I just told you, so this is just super. And I really want to encourage people to write. So this is great to be talking, in this way. And hopefully we'll be encouraging some people and get some new voices out there.
Absolutely. Oh, you're exactly the perfect person to be
I
on this
am the
show.
perfect person. I keep telling everybody that.
Let me give an introduction for this perfect person, because she really
Go ahead.
Lisa Scottoline is the #1 bestselling and Edgar Award winning author of 33 novels. She has over 30 million copies of her books in print in the United States and has been published in 35 countries. Scottoline also writes a weekly column with her daughter, Francesca Serritella, for the Philadelphia Inquirer, which has been adapted into a series of memoirs. She has served as president of the Mystery Writers of America and has taught a course she developed, Justice in Fiction, at the University of Pennsylvania's Law School, her alma mater, and she lives in the Philadelphia area. Eternal is her most recent novel. Set in Rome, it asserts that what war destroys, only love can heal. And I have got to say, so I have a few things to say, and then I'm just going to ask you so many questions.
Go right ahead. Ask me anything, talk away.
Number one, again, thank you for that blurb that you gave for Hush Little Baby.
It's a terrific book, and you deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just say that. Thank you. Number two, Eternal. Holy cow. So Rome is one of my favorite cities in the world. Venice is my favorite city, but Rome,
Venice is super cool. Agree.
you just can't.
I know, but Donna Leone has Venice, so I gotta get
Donna Leone. She sure does have Venice. But Rome is one of those places that my mother actually taught me to fall in love with. We were there, and I'd always kind of thought of Rome as a little bit dirty, a little rough around the edges, and she saw it that way, but in the most incredible way, that on every level of every surface in Rome, there is history built in, and
so true.
And you captured that so incredibly.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I really wanted to. And Rome is dirty on every surface. I love it. You got to love the grit, man. You can't walk there in sandals because like you're wearing Roman sandals and then you have filth all over your toes. But I kind of love it. It's everything about it is so real deal. And I really wanted to capture that as a backdrop in Eternal. And as you know, it's a love story against Italian fascism. So, but that's about the book. But yes.
So how did you get to know Rome so well? Is it a place that you've loved for a long time and go back and forth to, or did you?
It was more that I knew about. I love Italy. I'm Italian American. I've been there a couple of times. And when I found out about this sort of true life event that I felt really
I didn't know anything about.
I didn't know anything about it either. And when I learned about it, I was like, this is like a story that needs to be told. And then for 30 years, it was eating me up. And the Italian Holocaust I learned about in college. And then I said, I got to write about this someday. So it was really more that the story needed to be told. And that had occurred in Rome, which, you know, besides being the seat of Roman Catholicism, is also home to like the oldest continuously existing Jewish community. In Western civilization, I was like, okay, girl, you're going to try to write historical fiction now. Go.
How do you get that done? How are you so prolific, and where and when and how and why? Are you driven by the muse? Are you driven by, put your butt in the chair?
No, I love your podcast. I mean, I think, and I love that you're dealing with these nitty gritty. Like I looked at some of the titles, this kind of, are you writing a chapter that you'll take out? Yes, I've done. I think it's really good. It's so important to me that we demystify writing, because if you just love books and you're just a normal person and you see them on the shelf and you devour them and you're like, how do you get to write one of these? What is publishing? And I had such struggle early on and so much rejection. And I do think there's a bit of snobism that people sort of put the drawbridge up. And I freaking hate that. So I love that you are breaking it down to the nitty gritty and really like granular, as everyone is saying now. But the truth is, and I think you do point this out in your podcast, that it's very individual. Mm-hmm. Everybody does it a different way. And every way is right. Yeah. So I forget your question, but I think it was kind of like, how do you write?
Yeah, how do you write?
You just go, I tell you, look, I'm very insecure. So I've written like 35 novels and like 9 memoirs. And the answer is, be not afraid. I just say to myself, be not afraid. And I have a lot of dumb sayings, like you would think I was like on Friday Night Lights, a little coach of myself.
I love that show.
I love Kyle Chandler. So
he's the perfect man.
He's so hunky. So I'm like, okay, get it down, then get it good. I have sayings. I read all of Anne Lamott. I love Stephen King's book on writing. Yeah. I return to those. And particularly as a writer, you're trying to try something new. So whether you're starting out, like maybe people listening to this are, or you're like me, you have a 30-year career going, I really want to write historical fiction. And this might be either career suicide or super cool or kind of both. But then it turns out that it worked out and the book's doing great and the reviews are great. So, but I tried. I just was a newbie and I am a newbie. And we all are. We all sit right? We all look at your face, just go, when people see this face, right? We all sit in front of that blank page and go, I'm a huge, Stephen Sondheim fan. You go, we made a hat. Like, okay. Wow, who knew? And you just start. I'm very behavioral about that. We can talk about that and you just ask away, or I'll just give a nonstop lecture and people will go, oh my God, I'm glad she's not my mother.
Gosh, I wish you were my mother. So you talked briefly about experiencing a lot of rejection, which when people look at a very prolific, successful, excellent writer, we don't see rejection. We see like she's the queen. She has it all. It's always been easy.
Oh, right.
We all know it isn't easy, but how did that rejection shape the kind of writer that you are now today?
Well, first of all, I'm a count your blessings person. So I was very broke and a single mom and a broke single mom, which is kind of redundant. So a little bit, I come by gratitude very honestly. I feel it. So it's not like I have to remind myself. And I do think it is humbling to sit down in front of the computer. That's why I love that people who just starting out, I want them to know that I feel the same pain they do. We all, and you can look at any novel. I mean, I read all the time, and there's plenty of times I read books and go, okay, you'll never write a sentence that good.
Right.
Like you could have 85 drafts and you'll never write a sentence that good. But at the same time, let's be real. I'm from Philly. We keep it real. There's plenty of times I read books and go, dude, you need to work a little harder. This is not good enough. Or why does everybody like this? So the point is this. We all just sit down and try our best. And I think the key thing that people have to understand, because it applies, you can write it large, like, wow, you look successful, so you have everything together, which we all know is not true. But it's also that you look at a final copy, but you don't see a draft.
You don't see the shitty first draft that was
You
the
do not
worst
see, as
writing
Lamont
ever.
says,
Yes.
do not she says, give yourself permission to write the shitty first draft. And I always go back to Hemingway in this, where he goes, write drunk, edit sober. It's the only thing I quote with approval about Hemingway. But that, enough already. We get it. You shoot things. You're cool. I like that you have to encourage yourself to get out of your own way and let yourself get the story out. Because I don't write with an outline. People say, do you know how it ends? I don't even know how it middles. Like, are you impressed yet? It's just horrifying. And it's scary and it's nerve-wracking. I mean, do you write with an outline?
I write knowing usually the inciting incident and the midpoint, and that's about it. I would love to write with an outline, but I'm bad at it. It just takes off on me and I can't control it.
I totally get that. And I also think I would not love to, because I think it would be kind of boring. Like it would be like Mad Libs. Like, oh, this is the part where I fill in this part. You're like, what? I don't want to do that.
I love it when my writing leaves my jaw on the floor, just because I never saw that turn coming. Like, they're brothers? I didn't know that.
That's so funny. I know this will sound egotistical, but you know that it's not, because I am. So Eternal is out now, and it's an audiobook, which I love audiobooks. And so I got it. And it's interesting because I've never really, even in part, listened to my own audiobook.
I don't think I could do it.
I never, 30 some novels never happened. But I'm so in love with this book, and I was like born to write this book. So I listened to it. I want to be in this world still. And you realize that it's a performance that has nothing to do with your book. Like I can say this is a great audiobook because it's their performance. In any event, when I'm listening to it again, having written this book at this point, like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, and go, oh, that worked. Oh, that worked. Completely surprised. Like, and I think writers do that a little bit. Like I find that I'm divorced twice. Like I have huge powers of denial. Like people go, your husband's no good. I'm like, really? I think it's kind of nice. So what I'm trying to say is I can like read a book like I haven't written it. So I can go back to a draft and go, what is she doing? This sucks. Like make this better. And it's really just the coolest job on the planet. And I really want people to go for it if they want to. But no pressure. No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure.
What is the hardest part of writing for you?
The hardest part is every day, because you go, well, if you don't have an outline, how do you construct a book? So the hardest part is what would happen next, which is what the characters do next. And that ends up being the plot, and that ends up being a characterization, and it ends up being a voice, all three all at once. And, like I always thought writers, like you sit and fuss over the verb and all that. And I think people make that mistake. But when I do my first draft, it's not a mistake later. But it's a mistake and get it down. You have to get it down. So you cannot polish your little precious verb, child. You need to just figure out what the hell happened. And that is very, very hard. I have a hard time with that. Here's my tricks to answer it though, if you want to know.
Yes.
If I want to tell all my trade secrets.
Yes, please.
Okay, first off, train your brain. Try to read a lot, and try to put your phone away when you're writing. You cannot be distracted. You can't get that little hit of dopamine. Look, I'm a Twitter freak. I love it, but you got to stay off it. So then that will get you through the part where you're going to be frustrated and you can't look away. You look away, then you're off the hook. You need to persevere. And so sometimes one thing I do every morning is I lie in bed. I live alone I sleep with 4 dogs. Now you know way too much about them.
I love that.
But they're very used to this. So I just lie there and I think what just happened in my book, because I find that I'm fresher in the morning. It won't come at night sometimes. It's kind of diminishing returns. And I work with a word count, which we can talk about. But I say to myself, okay, now be in this moment. Think about these characters. What would they do? And I talk to myself or I write it down. And I get up and write it in notes. And then all of a sudden I'll wake up or I take a shower. I don't shower much, but I shower when I need to know what would happen next.
Because we're writers, we don't shower.
Yeah, what are we going to shower? I'm not wearing a bra for you. I really like you and I'm not wearing a bra for you.
Why? I'm only wearing a bra because I'm in the co-working space because my house is torn up, but that's the only reason. That's why.
Oh, I thought this was your house. So this looks nice.
No, the house is in absolute chaos. So I have so many questions for you. Okay, so when you're writing a first draft, what kind of word count do you like to push? I know this is unique for everybody, but what kind of word count do you like to push for daily?
Well, I'm lucky enough that this is my full-time job. Although even if it's your full-time job, because I had this job when I was working part-time 3 days a week. And I will tell you that I finish a book in the same amount of time, so I can't explain that. But so don't think it's all nirvana, but in any event, my word count is 2,000 words a day in first draft. I have to do it no matter what. I start at 9, I fart around my house, and then it's about 11 pages. It's something happening. The thing that happens. There's one thing and it happens. And it's about a chapter.
So good.
Right. And I'm not allowed. I saw one of the previous podcasts saying, are you a slave to word count? Yes, I am a slave to word count. I am, because I think if I I'm very lazy and I don't have good self-control. So I know if I let myself off the hook, I would be off the hook. And also I pay my bills. I've always supported myself on this living. And my daughter, until she grew up and is now a novelist herself. So what I'm trying to say is 2,000 words or bust. Sometimes you finish at 7 o'clock. Sometimes you finish at 2 a.m. Here's the other good part. These words can suck. They probably will. It's just what happened next. And E.L. Doctorow has a great quote. My daughter taught it to me and I'll butcher it now. But the idea is something like, you may not know like your route across the country, but you can get there on your headlights. And that is a really good image, because you can't go far, but you don't need to go far. You only need to go 2,000 words. And for me, it can be 500 words. It can be 100 words for people who are still working and not just only writing. Right. Do 50. Because I honestly think that when you start your brain on this track, your brain comes through for you. It works on it when you're not thinking about it. It works on it when you're walking the dog, right? You're nodding.
Only when you're consistently touching it. If you put it away for a couple of weeks, it's not working anymore. The brain is also lazy. Right.
And also the other thing happens, which is emotional, but for me, fear builds up.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't know what you're doing. You can't write historical fiction. Who are you kidding? Look at these big, thick books these ladies write. You can't be one of them. Can I be one of them? I don't know if I can. And I thought this was bigger in scope. For Eternal, there's like 3 families instead of just one. And it takes place over 20 years, and I've never done that. I'm very bad also at moving time in novels. I never can do that. I'm always like, my books take place in 3 days. So anyway, there was a lot of challenges, but we all feel the challenges every time we sit down. And I really want people to hear me say that, because it's really, really true.
Have you ever had one of those gift books that came easy?
No. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
They're all hard.
They're every time is hard
in their own way.
I'll tell you the good thing though. When it gets happy and easy is when I've done the first draft. Isn't that great? Because
I'm the same way. I love revision. I want to revise. I would pay.
Me too.
I'm kidding. I would not actually do this because I think I could probably hire somebody to do it. But I sometimes wish I could hire somebody just to write the shitty first draft.
I know. Awful. It's the worst time. No, I feel the same way, and I'm in a bad mood in first draft, and I I live alone. That's probably why. But I'm anxious because I don't know what's going to happen, and it's my job, and I have to come through, and all the all that stuff. And when I have a story, then I'm like, girl, smoke a cigarette. I don't even smoke. I want to start smoking just to edit and smoke. I feel so proud of myself and happy. And then I just go, oh. Well, what I really do is I say, justify yourself. And this book was hard because I handed in a 1,000-page manuscript, which is a total insane.
Oh,
I know. And my editor was really great.
who was your editor?
He's Mark Tavani at Putnam, and he's wonderful. And I'm new to him, and he's new to me. And I'm like, you're going to get fired, Lisa. This is it. Bye. Bye. But he called me. He said, I love the book. He says a lot of nice things, but the book needs to begin on page 300. And as soon as he said why, I said, oh, damn, he's right. And then that very night, I just tore the whole thing up. I'm in my office now, put it all over the floor. I don't have a lot of room in the floor. And I just did what I did to a second draft, any redraft, which I said, justify yourself to every sentence and every chapter and everything.
I'm writing down, justify yourself.
I actually said, I become very bitchy. You know, like I saw one of the podcast titles was about your inner critic. I think of it secretly as inner bitch. Like it's the person who undermines you, only it's you. Great. I've had 10 years of therapy, can you tell? And I was like, don't silence that person. That's when you need that person. You need that person to go, you said that already. You don't need to say it twice. You know, all the stuff or that verb could be a little more active, or
it's that voice we're trying to shut up in the first draft. It has to come back.
Exactly. You have to invite her in.
Yeah.
You have to say, she's going to be your friend the second draft. The first draft, she's a bitch, and you do not need her around.
She needs to be out with your cell phone in another
Exactly.
room.
You need the person that goes, Lisa, you're so good. You can do anything. That's my mother's voice. My mother was the, oh my God, you can do anything. But I was the, it's not good enough.
Are you that kind of mother to your daughter?
I am. You can do anything. I'm crazy about her, and she's great. And
I haven't read any of your mother-daughter stuff, and that's my next.
Well, I'll send you her novel. Her novel's called Ghosts of Harvard, and it's wonderful. It just was nominated for Best First Novel by International Thriller Writers.
Don't send it to me. I will buy it. I will.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Well,
it'll be on paperback soon, so.
That's so exciting.
But it's really cool.
Let me ask you, what thing in your life affects your writing in a surprising way?
Every single thing affects it in a surprising way. I've had so many downturns. I've had a lot of, agita, as everybody does. Everybody gets it. I think it surprises me that I can wall that out. This pandemic has been really difficult.
Yeah.
And that was a real test for me because I know people were ill, and I just felt like for the whole world, I do think that when you write enough and you read enough, it does make you more empathic. And I'm kind of a mushball to start with. And this was hard to screen out. Yeah. So I was more distracted. I just am writing a thriller now, and I was more distracted than I've ever been. It was hard. But now I finally got my groove back. But look, we're people. But you still have a deadline to make. And luckily I make my deadlines.
You say you write 2,000 words every day. And is that 5 days a week or is it 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
You do 7 days a week.
I have no life.
I've tried doing 7 days a week, and my little inner rebel just kicks up a total fit, and I have to take weekends off.
Well, you're young and you have a life, and the truth is, I look at it over the arc of my life, which is, as I said, I was a single mother, so it was all about her, and she's great. Now she's grown up; she's 35, and what I'm trying to say to you is that for most of my life, she always came first. Yeah. So I picked her up I wrote while she was at school, and I picked her up, and then I stopped. So in a way, and I think most women, when you get to be my age, which is 65, you've given so much, honestly. And I'm fine with that. It was all of my choices, and I'm delighted. I have a wonderful daughter, and we're super tight. But now it's my turn. That's how I view it. So this is I get to write, and I get to read, and I enjoy having, I don't enjoy writing, but I enjoy having written. And I love editing. So
where do you fit in all of the authorial work, like the emails and the planning podcasts and things like that? Where does that fit into your life? First off, I'm a good delegator. I'm great at foisting off work on other people. Teach me how to do that. Who do you foist it out on?
My publicist in-house is terrific. And I do have and I've started to work with my best friend now, who was my original publicist. And when I could afford to, I hired her.
Your
part-time
best
and
friend, your
full-time.
publicist,
I know.
best
My,
friend.
well, she
that.
works for me. So I
Yeah.
have my in-house publicist and I have my best friend Laura. And I also, like right now, we're talking at the end of the day.
Yeah.
My morning time is kind of inviolate
Yeah.
because if I'm just a baby and I find if I get a late start, then I start finding excuses and I can't do that. I just can't do that. I think it's really good for people to learn to say no, particularly women, because I say to them, do you want to hear my little thing that I say?
Yes, I want to hear everything
Can you
you
even
ever
shut me
said.
up? Like you'll be up, we have to go.
We've only got 6 more
No.
minutes, but I want
Oh,
you. I want to hear
okay.
everything
This
you've
is
ever known.
This is everything that I say to myself every day. This is the most important one. You know how if you envision like the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman or any old gothic movie where they're running around some big drafty house in the dark and they have a candle and that's lighting their way and they put their hand in front of the candle like this. And I always say to myself, you have to protect your candle. Your candle is you. Your candle is what you want. It's what you want. You want to be a writer? Do it. You want to be a geographer? Do it. You want to be an acrobat? Do it. You want to write historical fiction? Frigging do it. The world will not want you to. The world will go, but you need to get back to me. And I wrote you an email and you didn't text me back. And by the way, you have to pay your mortgage. All of those things that grown-ups have to deal with that are not fair. You have to protect your candle. So
I think that's the most beautiful phrase I've heard in forever.
Thank you. I like it. I made it up myself because because it's hard to say no. It sounds so negative. Then I started to say to myself, and I said it to my daughter, every time you say no to someone else, you're saying yes to you. But even that's a little too, oh, we get it. But when I saw that movie, I was like, you're protecting, and it's not the book, it's you.
It's you. And if it goes out, if you move too fast and go around a corner and you don't protect it.
Exactly. It needs you to.
Now you're doomed.
That's right. If you go too fast, go around a corner.
Yeah.
You can't, you're allowed. You're really allowed.
Goosebumps.
Oh, you're so sweet. You're lovely. I knew you were going to be like
I knew you were going to be like this too. Seriously, I was bugging your publicist so much.
Oh God, you should have written to me directly.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no.
That's me delegating too much.
I have a beautiful, wonderful assistant, and I love delegating to him. And he's a friend also.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Helps.
We're very, very lucky in that because we can't write and also work with administrative too much.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about all the stuff I have to do later. This is the best part of my day by far.
Actually,
can you tell us about Eternal for the people who have not read it?
Yes. Oh well, we don't have to talk about that. But
yes, please.
No, it's I always try to say it short. It's a love triangle set in fascist Italy. And it's about these 3 friends who love each other. And I was like, how will this girl get to choose between these 2 great fictional men? This was my fantasy for a year.
It's a really good one.
I thank you. I'm like, how will she choose? I don't know. I'll just fantasize about men for a year. But it really, it really raises these issues about family and law and justice and all that stuff. And I think that's what made me comforted because I said, Lisa, you've written about families in domestic thrillers and you've written about law and justice for a long time and you taught a frigging course in it. This is just the same thing, only a little bigger.
Yeah.
So try it. And I got to try it. I'm very proud of it. But
you're going to do it again? Do you want to do it again?
I absolutely am going to do it again because now now they encouraged me.
Are you going to stay in Italy or are you going to move around?
I think I want to stay in Italy, and it's nice because when you are lucky enough and blessed enough to have cultivated a readership, because believe me, I look on those Goodreads review, I look on any online reviews, I have them memorized. You tell me one, I know which the rest you said, and luckily they're really great now. But a few of them will say, I don't like historical fiction, but I read her, and I didn't want to give it a chance, but I did. And then I'm like, thank God, thank you, God. And I'm
following for you and your voice, which is the same voice in any book.
Well, and what's great about that for people who listen to your podcast is that what it means is that you make a market for yourself.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, that's what I've learned.
And you're the only one who can satisfy that market.
You're the only one who can satisfy it. And also that means you can't do it wrong because it's the you product. That's what it is. And that's why you don't even need to be competitive because we all help each other. We all lift each other. That's why I'll always blurb someone who's up and coming that I think is terrific. And I saw a million blurbs from people who sell way better than I just wrote them letters. I'm like, dear Chris Bajelian, I love your books. Will you read mine? And they came through. And we authors can do that for each other, whether we are published or unpublished. So that's what I love about your podcast. You're doing something and reaching out for people who are not yet published, because we will get them published if
Yes.
they
Yes.
if they just have faith in themselves and protect their Kindle.
All right. Unfortunately, I think that you have to be on every podcast that I ever have again.
I would love to.
It's now
I'll
the
never
Rachel and
shut up.
Lisa show. Also, after I get out of here, I'm in California, but I'm driving straight across the country using just my headlights to get to you.
There you
Your
go.
living room, and then you can tell me all the other stuff. Lisa, you are a freaking delight.
Oh, you
I
are
knew
too.
you
And I'm so
would
glad
be.
we did this. I think you're doing such a great thing for everyone, and you're so talented yourself. I hope they listen to every word you say.
Everyone go to Lisa Scottoline. What is your blog? What is your website? LisaScottoline.com.
Scottoline.com.
Perfect.
Yeah,
All right.
you'll find me. It's all about Scottoline all over. It's
You're
only me.
the absolute best. And thank you
Thank
for
you, honey.
everything.
Best of luck with everything in your travels and your move.
Thanks. Mwah.
I love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.